I'm on Reddit right now because I'm dealing with an unforeseen circumstance. Jenna, my high school girlfriend, and I were unintentionally pregnant for a while back. Although we had always exercised caution, life had other ideas occasionally. Jenna lost it when she found out she was expecting. She believed that being pregnant meant losing up on her lifelong ambition of becoming a model. She had been going to auditions and taking on several part-time jobs throughout college, so I understood how important her career was to her. I told her that I completely understood her goals and that I would be there for her no matter what decision she chose. I wanted her to know that she could always count on my support. Sadly, we discovered that her pregnancy was too far along to contemplate ending it. For Jenna, this news was upsetting since it seemed as though all of her aspirations were disappearing, leaving her in a very challenging situation. The news was received by our families in somewhat different ways. My parents came forward right away, offering to take over and help us in any way they could. They were prepared to support us throughout this new stage of our lives and look out for the baby's best interests. But Jenna's mother, and she saw things quite differently. After the kid was born, they were adamant about placing him for adoption. Mom thought this was the greatest way to make sure Jenna could keep going after her aspirations guilt-free, away from the shadow of parenthood. My folks and I were adamantly opposed to this notion. I told Jenna and her mother over and over again that I would be the one to raise the child, and that Jenna didn't need to help with our baby if she didn't want to. I made an effort to persuade them that we could work things out without having to give up the child. They persisted in believing that giving up the child and ending all contact was the appropriate decision, even after I gave them reassurance. Jenna was especially insistent, because she thought that if she handed the kid over to me, there was a possibility that I would attempt to get her involved in the child's life down the road. In order to ensure a clean separation and be free from any guilt or links going forward, she wanted to completely avoid any potential trouble. I begged for days, telling Jenna that I would never get in touch with her regarding the kid again once she handed up her parental rights. I assured her that she would never have to worry about the child again and could have a guilt-free life. She and her mother were eventually persuaded, and that is just what transpired. Following the birth of our daughter Amelia, Jenna made a full recovery and went back to living her life. I assumed entire responsibility for Amelia's care, together with my parents. It was difficult at first to manage my education and take care of a newborn, but I've never regretted my choice. For the remainder of my college career, I found great fulfillment and a feeling of purpose in watching my daughter develop and succeed. Jenna steered clear of me. I kept my word and never bothered her about our kid. She never once asked about her. My whole attention was on Amelia and providing a secure home for the two of us. It's difficult to express how much Amelia meant to me and how much I loved her. Dads and their daughters are said to share a unique link, and I could tell that was true the moment I laid eyes on her in the hospital. I felt her in my arms, and it was like everything in the universe suddenly revolved around her. She gave my life an unfathomable significance. My classmates used to make fun of me for being a father too soon. I can't even begin to remember how many times. They would tell me I was missing out on life and that instead of caring about a kid and changing diapers, I should be having fun. They said things that I never took seriously, though, since they had no idea how close I was to Amelia or how rewarding it was to see her develop. Although my college experience differed greatly from theirs, in retrospect, I wouldn't exchange it for anything. All of my sacrifices were worthwhile because of Amelia, her accomplishments, her smiles, and the small moments we had. In order to support my kid, I worked really hard to graduate from college with outstanding marks while managing a part-time job. I'm tremendously grateful to my parents for those days when they stepped in and tried their best to watch for my baby whenever they could. Being a single parent is quite tough. Their steadfast love and support got me through some of the worst periods, from watching Amelia during late-night study sessions before exams to lending me a sympathetic ear when things seemed too much to handle. Because to my parents' devotion and selflessness, I was able to concentrate on my academics and take care of my child without feeling overburdened. Upon obtaining a reliable job, saving enough money, and graduating from college, I was ecstatic to move out and live independently with Amelia. It was a significant occasion for both of us. I made sure Amelia's room was ideal for us by carefully selecting every piece of furniture and decorating it. This was about establishing a place where we could start new memories and feel completely at home, not just about having a roof over our heads. After I moved out, it was just Amelia and myself for the first few years. We would go home together after I picked her up from daycare and went to work at my workplace. I would help her with her homework after getting dressed, then make dinner and pack her lunch for the next day. I eventually became adept at doing things by myself. I was always there for my kid, and she could always depend on me, albeit there were moments when tiredness struck and I had to contact my parents for assistance. Being her mom was my top focus, and it was so satisfying to watch her develop into a contented child. I met Amelia's stepmother, Harper, and the love of my life when she was 5 years old. Harper was a divorcee who had left a violent union. She had a tough history, but she was a really nice and caring person. What really made me fall in love with her was the way she connected with Amelia. Harper gave Amelia a warm embrace, realizing how essential she was to me. I knew Harper was the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with, after witnessing their relationship and how easily she adopted the role of a caring figure in Amelia's life. Harper and I had Amelia as our flower girl when we got married. She stayed by our sides the whole ceremony, as seen by the wonderful photos we have of our wedding. Seeing her on such a memorable day touched my heart. She looked so precious and content. Everyone had a great time during the wedding, and our small family felt loved and supported. Especially my parents were ecstatic. They were happy tears, understanding how much I had suffered over the years. For them, it meant the world to see me finally find love and have a wonderful family. It was a lovely day full of laughter, love, and the hope of a prosperous future spent with one other. Harper always showed Amelia that she was a kind stepmother over the years, treating her like her own daughter. My parents passed away suddenly from health problems after Harper and I moved into a larger home. I was devastated during this time, which may be why I wasn't able to give Amelia the time and care I used to. Amelia began to experience bullying in high school at this period. It was revealed to several of her pals by their slanderous moms that Harper was not Amelia's birth mother. It didn't help that Harper and Amelia clearly didn't look identical, with Harper having blonde hair and a sharper nose, and Amelia having brown curls and distinct facial characteristics. Amelia was depressed and reclusive when her peers at school began making fun of her for it. They would say hurtful things, like Harper will ultimately desert her, and her biological mother had definitely abandoned her since she had never loved her. I had no idea what Amelia was going through at the moment. She didn't tell me how much she hurt until things got really bad. She was a private person. The principal's office called us one day to report that Amelia was accused of attacking another student and breaking her nose. I was quite stunned to hear this news. My daughter has consistently exhibited kindness and gentleness. Eager to learn what had transpired, Harper and I hurried to the school. We found out at the principal's office that Amelia had been the target of this other girl's constant bullying for a very long time. When Amelia was finally at her wit's end, she'd taken matters into her own hands, and in a fit of rage and despair, flung a stone at her torturer. I felt both sorry and angry when I learned about the bullying Amelia had to face. I was prepared to passionately defend my kid, and intended to face the other youngster and her parents immediately. But Harper, who's usually cool under pressure, was able to reassure me. I was furious, but Amelia's parents demanded that she apologize to the other girl. I vowed to sue them and the school for forcing my daughter to endure such prolonged mental harassment. I vehemently disagreed, emphasizing how severe the bullying was, and how it had driven Amelia to her breaking point. I explained to them that it was wrong to bully a youngster, and that they had no right to tolerate their daughter's actions getting out of control. They were intimidated by my aggressive response and decided not to press the issue further. Amelia had gone through months of suffering before she finally stood up for herself, so I never chastised her for what she did. Despite the terrible circumstances, I was proud of Amelia for having the guts to stand up for herself, even if it cost her so much. I realized that after that episode, Amelia and I needed to talk openly about Jenna, Amelia's original mother. Amelia knew, in a hazy way, why Jenna was not in our life up to that point, but I had never told her the whole truth. I had a conversation with Amelia, in which I candidly detailed how Jenna and I had become parents at a very early age, and the reasons for Jenna's choice to leave us. I convinced Amelia that she was unaffected by Jenna's decision. I clarified that, in certain situations, adults lack the necessary skills to care for children, as was the situation with Jenna. I also emphasized Amelia's good fortune in having Harper in her life. I assured her that Harper would stop at nothing to ensure her well-being, and that she loved her as much as if she were her own kid. Amelia needed to know that family is about more than just biology. It's about love, support, and those who never leave our side. I hoped Amelia would get over her interest in learning more about her birth mother after our talk. However, she told me a few weeks later that she was attempting to get in touch with Jenna. Since I was aware of how adamantly Jenna had requested to never be contacted again, I was quite worried about her. Amelia was adamant despite my cautions, and I was quite concerned that she may be let down or rejected. Amelia informed me with great excitement that her real mother was pleased to hear from her and wanted to get together when she eventually contacted Jenna. Jenna had never reached out to me regarding Amelia throughout the years, despite the fact that my contact details had not changed, so I couldn't help but be suspicious of this abrupt shift. I expressed to Amelia my skepticism and how hard it was for me to accept Jenna's renewed zeal. Amelia, though I had my doubts, was ecstatic and took Jenna's words at its value. She insisted on traveling alone and promptly arranged to meet her biological mother at a mall. I was determined to go with her, if only to see whether it was indeed Jenna and to see her off. Amelia reluctantly accepted my request. I took Amelia to the mall on the day of the meeting so she could meet Jenna. When we got there, I nervously looked over the throng, looking for Jenna, half expecting her to disappear. Amelia suddenly saw her. With excitement, she pointed, and I followed her gaze. Jenna was standing not too far away. They had a hearty embrace, and she looked genuinely delighted to see Amelia. Amelia's reunion with her biological mother was an odd time. I stepped aside to give them room while maintaining a close eye on them. Certain misgivings I had been dispelled when I saw Amelia's grin, and saw how she connected with Jenna. Amelia seemed to really value this meeting, so even though I had my doubts, I couldn't let her miss this opportunity to spend time with her birth mother. After their talk, Jenna welcomed me with grace and told me that she would take Amelia home. She seemed very serious as she thanked me for the chance to meet her kid. I chose to let them converse and give Amelia this crucial opportunity despite my mixed feelings. Like he had promised, Jenna took Amelia back home a few hours later. My daughter had obviously liked her time with her biological mother, since she was flushed with excitement. Amelia was excited to tell me how incorrect I had been about Jenna for all these years when I questioned her about their chat. Amelia stated that her biological mother appeared to be truly sorry for her actions and had expressed sadness over her choice to not be involved in our daughter's life. Amelia continued by telling me that Jenna wanted to be in her life right now, and Amelia herself desired this. Amelia's statements caused me to feel a mixture of feelings. A part of me felt happy that Amelia got along well with her birth mother, and that Jenna appeared to really regret what had happened. After all these years, a part of me was still wary, taking time to adjust to the abrupt change in Jenna's position. I couldn't help but wonder what this new link meant for our family, and how Amelia would be affected in the future. Harper told me that all we could do was hope that Jenna wouldn't hurt or negatively affect Amelia emotionally in the future, and that I couldn't control the situation. Amelia started seeing her birth mother for a few hours every other weekend as the weeks went by. I was initially in favor of Amelia exploring this new connection, but then I began to see a trend. Amelia would often ask me for money before heading out to see Jenna. When they first met, I thought it was for personal reasons, but it soon became apparent that Jenna wanted Amelia to cover the cost of their meals. Perplexed and worried, I questioned Amelia why Jenna declined to pay for these expenses. Amelia informed me that Jenna was having financial issues at the moment. but she also gave me the reassurance that her real mother was actively looking for work and will soon be in a better situation. Even though I thought this arrangement was strange, I decided to accept it for Amelia's pleasure. Without adding further strain or worry, I wanted to help her in keeping this relationship with her biological mother. Amelia's support and affection were my top priorities, even if it meant making some concessions along the road. But then I started noticing things going missing from the house. Little things at first, like Harper's treasured family cups and saucers that her grandmother had given her for her wedding. We laughed it off at first, figuring they may have been lost. But our alarm increased when my wife realized that some of her pricey items and underwear were now going missing from her wardrobe. We were puzzled by the scenario, as we had no idea where these lost objects were turning up. Naturally, we looked to Amelia for clarification, thinking that perhaps she could explain. She vehemently denied knowing anything about the missing things or their location each time we questioned her. She said that I was probably exaggerating and chastised Harper for being irresponsible. At my wife's suggestion, I installed cameras in our common spaces in the hopes of catching any prospective burglars who could be stealing from us. Harper was having trouble finding her wedding ring one day. She usually left it on our bedside table before leaving for her workout at the gym. Since they were both priceless, and we wanted to protect them from any potential harm at the gym, I did the same with my ring. Harper looked all around when she got home, but she couldn't find her ring. When I arrived home, she was obviously unhappy and nervous. We made the decision to watch the security camera film jointly to see if it had any hints. We were horrified by what we saw when we watched the recorded video, and it made us doubt everything we had previously believed. It found out that Amelia would wander the house and grab items that weren't hers while we weren't around. Amelia came into our bedroom and we saw her come out holding what seemed to be my wife's wedding band. Amelia first denied any participation in the theft when I approached her about it. But I showed her the damning video in a composed manner. She knew she had been caught red-handed, and her countenance paled. I sensed her concern and politely requested her to give me an explanation. I was curious as to why she'd turned to stealing from us. Amelia started weeping when Harper questioned her about if she had also taken her underwear and clothing. At last, she admitted that she had been robbing Harper for months in an attempt to get even. She said to us that being married to Harper had made her despise it. Amelia said she wanted me to move on from Harper and think about making amends with Jenna, her birth mother, as she felt Jenna still had affection for me and regretted our split. Hearing what my daughter had said infuriated me. I told her she was being rather naive, and I tried to be tough but cool at the same time. I reassured her that Harper's connection with her birth mother was unrelated to my marriage, and that I was steadfast in my love and commitment to her. I made it clear that I couldn't change the past, and that she was being unjust and unrealistic in expecting me to leave Harper. Amelia became quite upset when I refused to give in to her demands. She exploded with rage, yelling that I was the one who had abandoned Jenna all those years prior, and that Harper would never be able to take the place of her real mother. She maintained that since she had always imagined having a family in which her biological parents were married to one another, I should at least make an effort to get in touch with her mother. Her tantrum gave me a serious shake. I told her how annoying it was to hear these immature requests after everything I had given up for her over the years, expressing my disgust. I told Amelia how much Harper had loved and cared for her throughout the years. I emphasized Harper's support, her willingness to make sacrifices, and her adoption of Amelia as her own daughter. I told her that for me to leave my wife for Jenna was unfair and rude. At this point, things with my kids started to get unsettling. Rather than acknowledge my unwavering position, she issued a startling threat. If I didn't leave Amelia right away, she threatened to falsely accuse Harper of grooming and sexual abuse. Her statements shocked and upset me tremendously. I had no clue whence such notions could have originated. Amelia continued by telling me that she had seen enough documentaries to know that I would lose my wife forever, and that Harper may end up in jail for life. This was a severe accusation, so I asked her whether she had gone insane. Amelia told me she would do whatever to make Harper's life as miserable as possible, but if I only started dating her original mother, it would all end. For the first time, I felt dread and loathing towards my kid as I looked at her. She was acting as though she were insane. She had obviously taken her own illusion seriously, and it's possible that her biological mother had also had some control over and manipulation over her. I was astounded by the lengths to which my daughter would go in order to fulfill her deviant want to reunite with her birth mother and me. My wife Harper told me right away that she could not continue to live with my daughter after discovering Amelia's propensity for fabricating allegations. She was worried that Amelia would not be in the correct frame of mind, and that her unfounded threats might forever harm our lives without any justification. I could see why she was upset, and I felt obliged to impart to Amelia a deep lesson on duty and accountability. I told Amelia that because she was going to become 18 soon, and had such a strong sense of trust in her original mother, I wanted her to move out right away and live with Jenna. I reasoned that she would never learn if I was gentle on her, after the way she had just threatened us. I told her that even though I could no longer let her live with us, I would still provide for her financially until she reached 18. I informed her that she would either have to pay for her own college tuition or turn to her cherished biological mother for support. It was then that Amelia learned Harper had established a trust fund for her, ensuring she would never have to borrow money for her studies. But, considering the situation, I didn't want my ungrateful daughter to benefit in any way, so we made the decision to deny her access to it completely. Amelia did make an effort to object and retaliate against my choice. She went so far as to threaten me further with damaging my life and job, but I ignored her. I requested that Jenna come pick up our daughter over the phone. When I questioned the shameless lady about why she had instilled these repulsive attitudes in our kid, she showed no signs of regret. Jenna shrugged her shoulders, saying it was Amelia's wish to see us both together, and that it was never too late for us to give it a shot, because this was not how my daughter had ever behaved before. Her statements made me cringe, and I just refused to talk to her about it. I gave Amelia some cash, and then watched as my daughter packed up her belongings and drove out with her birth mother. That was the last time I heard from Amelia, even though I was still sending her money every week. Upon my daughter's high school graduation, I discovered that she had been granted admission to a prominent institution on a partial scholarship. She needed assistance paying the remaining balance, and Jenna got in touch with me quickly. She informed me that since she didn't want Amelia to take out a student loan, I had to take responsibility and make the necessary payment. I informed Amelia that hundreds of students take out student loans each year to finish their school, and she need to follow suit to understand the value of perseverance. I also informed her that she need to take the lead since it was she who had instilled all those harmful concepts in our kid. For Amelia, I'd done more than enough. Since Amelia was now an adult, and any legal commitment would no longer stand against me, I knew that Jenna and Amelia could not even threaten to take legal action against me. This chat gave me some mental clarity. It was several months before she or my daughter communicated with each other. But yesterday, when Amelia contacted me sobbing, everything was different. She begged me to listen to her, sounding really upset. Even though I was in the middle of a crucial meeting, I continued to attend it in order to support my daughter. Over the phone, Amelia told me how she lost her spot at her desired university, since Jenna had not helped her get into it. Amelia was forced to work in a fast food restaurant for the time being as a result. Amelia had been paying Jenna rent each month, since it seemed that Jenna did not want her to reside there for free. Amelia requested to return home with tears in her eyes, and apologized in person to Harper and me for what she had done. She blamed me for not educating her better, even though she acknowledged that I had been correct about Jenna all along. To be honest, my daughter's willingness to accuse my wife of such things makes it difficult for me to trust her again. Even now, the image of her accusing Harper of such things is still very much in my thoughts. She is still my kid, and I adore her despite this. I thus made her what I thought was a reasonable accommodation. I assured her that I would cover her rent every month, allowing her to look for another place to live. This would enable her to preserve her earnings rather than having to provide her mother her rent. I even promised her that I would support her through college at some point. But when my daughter heard this, she became enraged, and started insulting Harper and me. She said that I was useless, that I had never loved her, and that I even wished I had died. Her statement revealed to me just how little she had actually learnt in the previous few months. I stood by my choice and didn't cave in to her demands, even after her tantrum. All right, Reddit, AITA, for preventing my daughter from moving back home and fully pardoning her for her previous deeds. Update 1. Retrospectively, Amelia was acting very differently with Harper. Whenever she had a fight with Harper, she would occasionally refer to her as a witch, or old hag, when she returned home from seeing her real mother. I had the stupid assumption, along with Harper, that Amelia was simply going through a phase and would ultimately get over it. It is quite dangerous to threaten to falsely accuse someone of grooming and sexual assault. Despite Harper's gender, this does not absolve her from facing legal repercussions had Amelia filed that complaint against her. After that, how can I expect my wife to live with my daughter under one roof? I also believe it's too dangerous to allow my daughter remain with us ever again, because Amelia is obviously against Harper. It wasn't out of malice that I declined to cover my daughter's college expenses. I thought she needed to learn a valuable lesson about how little her mother was prepared to give up for her. Furthermore, you are just teaching your child that they can get away with anything if you choose to ignore them when they threaten you with such horrible things in the future. If they don't learn a lesson, who knows what they could do in the future? All that Jenna had to do was assist Amelia in obtaining a college loan and serve as her co-signer, but it is evident that she declined to do so. After our conversation, Amelia has finally consented to let me cover her rent. She's actively scoping out new locations. I'll be mailing the rent check straight to the house's landlord, following some of your advice, to prevent Jenna from robbing Amelia of her money. Regarding Amelia returning to college, I also intend to speak with her. Naturally, Harper won't offer any assistance this time around as it isn't her duty. Update 3. Amelia has already moved into her new house and is comfortable. I had lunch with her recently, and we spoke about her aspirations for the future. She expressed her sincere regret to me for all that transpired between us and acknowledged that Harper no longer desires a connection with her. Amelia has my word that if she wants to start college the next year, I would help her. She is committed to save as much money as she can and working hard this year. Jenna is upset that she isn't getting paid by Amelia, but she is now unable to take any action because I have blocked her, and Amelia isn't communicating